Sanger, liedjieskrywer en een van die wêreld se beste kitaarspelers kuier vanoggend by ons. Ja, dit is 'n absolute voorreg om vanoggend vir Dan Patlansky te hê. Good morning and welcome.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It is wonderful to have you back. I mean, you played a little bit of a preview for Pierre and myself, and we both said, well, we don't even want to do the interview, we just want to watch concerts. So it's really such a privilege. I do want to ask you, you know,
Sure.
you are described as a global blues icon. How does it feel when people describe you like that?
Embarrassing. You know what it is. It's obviously it's awesome to get any recognition you can, especially in this small niche industry that I'm working in. But you know, when you tour overseas and you do these festivals and you see the other guys in the genre, it's a very, very humbling experience, you know. But obviously, getting any recognition and being able to do this as a living and not have a day job is epic.
Humbling experience, but yet it must be also wonderful to see and learn from and get to see what people do and push yourself and push your own limits and your own talents.
Yeah, completely. I mean, you know, there's nothing scarier, but also nothing more exciting than seeing these monsters of the industry perform. And, you know, you kind of feel like, wow, I don't belong here. It's a bit of that.
Okay, yes.
You doubt yourself, but in the same breath, you're like so inspired because they're doing stuff that you can't do. And you go, wow, that's my next little hurdle or my next goal. So I want to be able to do that better or this better. So for me, it's just a constant evolution. And I don't think you ever get to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Well, I think if you get to that point, you must stop.
Yeah.
If you think you're better than the actual art, so then it's
Sure.
time to actually tap out.
Exactly.
But you're also someone that gives back because you give guitar lessons.
Yes.
And how difficult is it? Because at what level do you give that guitar lessons? Is it like newbies or is it people that can already play?
So generally it's people that can already play to some extent. But, you know, it doesn't have to be on a professional level. But it is kind of difficult. So in the whole lockdown period, that's when I kind of started doing it out of necessity more than anything. And then I kind of carried it on, but in a different way. I'm not necessarily doing lessons where I'm sitting with the person and going, try this. So I've got a Patreon page where I pre-record lessons every week. And, you know, I've got a bunch of subscribers from all over the world and they kind of learn through the Patreon page. And it's a great thing because it's this other thing in my week that I've got to put my head into. It's not just the performing thing, the songwriting thing, the guitar playing thing. It's all of a sudden, oh yeah, this week, what am I going to do for lessons for this Patreon page? So it's this other way of thinking. And you know, I've been doing it, as I say, since lockdown, and it's just become a part of my life now. And it's just it's an enjoyable thing to see other guitar players growing.
That's, dare I say, a little bit of a roots thing. It's a little bit of going back to where it started and sharing that passion you had when discovering.
Big time.
When discovering it yourself. I mean, that's a roots thing. I listened to Moving On last night and on repeat. It just played on repeat the whole night. And there's a big thing, especially in that album that you had where you were going back to your roots. And you were playing music you wanted to play as opposed to commercially viable, what a label would like.
Yes.
Or the kind of thing. And this is also very much in that vein. I mean, doing stuff like this, giving people lessons, sharing your love. It's all roots-based, eh? It's all going to the first love.
It is. It really is. I mean, I remember the days of that feeling of discovering the guitar and like that excitement of when you get a small little thing right on the guitar and then it opens up your playing. So for me, that's what it's about. You know, I also do these guitar weekends where that's a live thing. Like I do them twice a year here in South Africa where I teach, you know, in Clarence where 30 guys join me. And it's the same thing. I get to hang around with 30 like-minded people. Doesn't matter the level of guitar player, but it's not the level. It's that passion. That's the
love
same.
and passion. Yeah.
For music, for playing the guitar, getting better at the guitar, and talking guitar and talking all the nerdy guitar stuff that you know that I can't talk to my wife about it. She's like, "What are you talking about?" You know. So it's that, you know, and it's the same with the teaching thing, with the Patreon thing, the guitar weekend thing. It is giving back in a sense, but it's quite selfish in a way because I get to hang around with these guys and it's great for me too. It's self-serving in a way also.
Yeah.
Dan, moving on, 11th album that you've got now. Tell us about the album.
So the album was a complete back to my roots kind of thing. You know, as we were talking about earlier, it was like what I wanted to do, the songs I wanted to do, and it was almost like one of those albums where I was like, if I had to die tomorrow, how would I want to be remembered musically?
Yeah.
You know? So I didn't think of anything else but what I wanted to do. I mean, that might be to my detriment, you know what I mean? But, you know, I'm really, really proud of the album, you know? And it's just an album that performs so naturally live. Sometimes if you overthink stuff on a record, then it sounds great on the album, and then you go and tour it and you realize, wow, some of these songs don't really translate live.
Yeah.
You almost need a 47-piece band and producers, and where this is just like all the songs on the album sound great live, because that's pretty much how we recorded it. It wasn't overproduced. We went into a studio, we played the songs, and we took the best takes, and we mixed them and mastered them and released them.
Because that's how it sounds. It sounds like I'm sitting at a show watching you play.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's what was the thing. I didn't want any, you know, kind of production tricks and all this stuff, because then, as I say, live, it's a bit of a letdown. Like, people are like, well, that doesn't sound like the album, you know, but this does. I mean, this is just like, all it is like probably a really good performance of each song, because we did a multiple one and said, which one is the one? Which one? And that's the blues for you. That's what it's about. It's about feel. It's about delivery, right? Of
the moment.
The moment of the song and the feel and all that. And that's hard to capture in a studio, because you're not in front of a live audience. You know, you're in a cold studio. So it takes a little bit of of adjusting the brain to get into that zone. But eventually you get there, and if you can capture that on tape, then we're talking. Yeah.
Why did it take you 10 years before you decided, okay, I'm going to make an album like this?
It's a good question. You know, I think musically you go down different kind of channels, and, you know, it's all part of the journey, you know. And, you know, I'm not only influenced by the blues, even though that's my biggest influence. I'm influenced by a lot of rock, multiple genres. And, you know, for years I was kind of doing a lot more cross-pollination of if that's even, you know, makes sense to this subject, but of the genres. And that was fun too. And at the time, you know, I was enjoying that. But, you know, I think, you know, with age sometimes, you know, you like, I miss who I was and what I really love the most, you know, and like, that's what I want to do. And I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I mean, who knows what the next album will, you know, the direction will be. But right now, and I suppose the last couple of years, and I think lockdown once again was that realization, because, you know, you're sitting and you can self-reflect and see what you really want in life and what's important and what's not important. And, you know, that's what I suppose came out of all that deep thought and isolation, was the realization that this is kind of the direction I want to be in for the next few years.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, well, today is National Hermit Day, and the basics of being a hermit is thinking of what life really is about.
Is it really?
Yes.
Okay.
So it works perfect. It works with the theme. But now, influences, the things that change us, and that the reason we go on little sidetracks in our lives, especially creatively, is because we get influenced by outside forces, outside creatives, and having an input on the way we see ourselves and the way we see our art, right?
Yes, sure.
Now you're doing, although you're back to the roots again, you're doing an influences tour.
Yes.
Tell us about the influences tour.
So this is the first time I've ever done this in my life, right? Which is, it's a very short tour. We're not like we're doing, I think, 6 dates around South Africa. And it's all about the artists that inspired me the most, the ones that I love the most. So Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, Elba King, BB King, Freddie King. And I know a lot of South Africans, 99% of South Africans won't know who a lot of these people are, but they have been a massive, massive impact on my life. And I thought it was about time I did something. I wanted something different, because all we've done since the album's release is tour the album. In South Africa, abroad, that's all we've done. And I wanted to kind of end the year slightly differently and have a fresh set list. And yeah, so the Influences tour was, you know, it's been on the cards for a while, but very, very excited about this. You know, I mean, as I say, these songs molded me as a musician, and these players and singers and guitar players molded me as a musician.
It's also a tribute to the roots.
Yeah,
to your roots.
big time.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose this is more roots than even the album. This is,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not playing any of my own stuff. I'm just doing covers, you know, or
Wow.
my interpretation of these songs. Exactly.
That's incredible, and that's coming up like this week already. The
Yeah.
31st, you're in Joburg, Pretoria, the 1st, 7th, East London, Port Elizabeth, Durban. I see no Cape Town dated. That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's you know, this was kind of almost a last minute decision, this tour.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, you know, normally when you book a tour, it's like a good 6 months before
Yeah.
Yes.
you're getting all your dates in and your logistics around and travel. And this was kind of like after we got back from our last Netherlands and German tour, I was like, let's just do it.
Yes.
Let's just do this tour, you know? And, you know, so as I say, it's not a big tour, it's minimal dates, but it's something I've wanted to do for a while. And yes, to answer your question, we never, I think I was too late to get into the Cape. I think
Yes.
all the venues we normally perform, we're already booked up. It's that time of the year already where
Yeah.
everything's
Yes.
jam-packed already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like this little tour we're doing, and so excited. Also nervous. You know? So like, 'cause
Nervous
it's like these are
excitement.
your heroes, and you don't want to
Yeah.
you want to do them justice. You know?
Yes.
You want to do the songs justice. You know, so it's great. Yeah.
Good luck with the tour. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
it's going to be absolutely brilliant, no doubt about it. Congratulations with the new album.
Thank you so much.
Excited with you that you really feel like it's an album that's back to roots. And thank you again for visiting us this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
Are you going to play something for us later on?
No, yes, of course I am. I am. I will play. Yeah, I'll play one of the songs from the tribute tour. You know, by a guy called Freddie King. Yeah.
Freddie King. Lovely.
Can't
wait.
wait.